something different for you this week. I'm here in Italy, in Rome, and I'm here for the International Society of Equitation Science Conference. I'm here to help with getting videos and photos for the event, and I'm excited because I know that I'm going to learn a lot from the speakers that are here. But I'm not alone. Ken is also here. Ken helps with a lot of the video that you see at CRK training.
Ciao a tutti, come va? Siamo qua in Roma, lavoriamo per la conference.
Luckily for me, he also speaks Italian.
Grazie. Ciao.
The International Society of Equitation Science is a group whose mission is to promote horse welfare, to learn more about effective training, and also about horse behavior. It's a group of scientists and researchers and also the lay people that are interested in promoting this mission. And this conference is where these people come together. It's really a collaborative effort. There's researchers here that are sharing the projects that they're working on, some of the most new and I find exciting information in horse behavior and training and management and care. And then also it's all of the other people that are here to support that and just to discuss and learn more. So I'm really excited to be here and be a part of it. And it's also being held at a gorgeous venue. So this is part of the Italian military complex. And this is actually the same place that Caprilli had trained. So Caprilli is the inventor of the forward seat. So before Caprilli started inventing his forward seat, riders were riding in a way where they would lean back. It was much more heavy-handed, and Caprilli's forward seat took riding to a more biomechanically correct way of riding. The attendees and the presenters here are truly incredible, and the research that they're sharing is really fascinating. I'd like to bring some of that to you coming up next. So I'm here with Katrina Merkes from the University of Guelph, and we're at the Equitation Science Conference, and you presented some really interesting research that you've done on asymmetry in horses and how that relates to saddle fit.
Yes, we found some very interesting results. We had a very large data set of almost 500 saddle fits that were taken by a local saddle fitting company, and we analyzed the measurements that they took of the horses, and one of our main findings was that the left side of the horse is more developed muscularly where the saddle goes than the right side of the horse.
Yeah, I found that really interesting because you always hear people that make guesses, you know, trainers that make guesses, but to actually have data on it is fascinating.
Exactly. It's sort of anecdotally said that the left side is bigger, but now we actually have proof, and from here we can go forward into more research on how best to fit saddles to horses.
Yeah. Do you have some guesses why the left side may tend to be more developed?
I think it goes back historically because we do so much work on the left side of the horse, and we mount from the left, and I think that repeated mountings over time puts that stress on the left side of the horse, and they brace the left side of their shoulder as the rider puts the weight, loads the weight into the stirrup, and so that tends to, I think, probably has the largest impact on that development to the left. Yeah. But are there genetic aspects to it? Probably. Training, yes, and could also be experience.
I'm here with Jenny, and we joked before we started, I'm going to let you say your last name.
Yeah, Ingvarsson.
And you're from Sweden.
I am.
And you look at riding schools and horse management and welfare and behavior. So just tell us one of the big questions that you have been looking at in regards to that.
The basic question that we wanted to look at was why do you choose one housing system or the other? Because there's a trend in Sweden to go towards group housing and loose housing of horses as compared to more traditional box tie stall housing. And we were wondering, why do you change, or why do you choose one of these housing systems? What are your arguments? And then we also wanted to know, of course, how is the welfare and how is the human safety, how is the horse safety? So we wanted to look at all these aspects. So.
Yeah.
But as an ethologist, I'm mainly interested in horse behavior, of course.
Yeah, and there was one thing that you had mentioned about horses biting during saddling, that you noticed a difference in their management in relation to that.
Yes. So there's a significantly higher risk of the horse trying to bite you while you're saddling it if you're a riding school student in a riding school with the horses in box or tie stalls, as compared to if you're a student in a riding school where the horses are loose housed.
Okay.
So that is one of the student safety issues that we found. So I'm right now analyzing the behavioral data, but from what we see, most of it's pointing to, and I mean the horse welfare is generally good in the riding schools that we're at, but it's even better in the riding schools where the horses are loose housed or group housed.
Wow. And I had never known how big riding was as an activity in Sweden.
It's the second largest sport after soccer or European football.
Dr. McLean, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here too.
I've followed your work and your research and some of your writing for quite some time now. And you've really done a lot for the world of bringing science into riding. What initially inspired you to kind of look at riding through a more scientific lens?
Well, quite a selfish reason actually in the beginning, because I was a 3-day event rider, and then latterly I was a dressage rider, and I really wanted to improve my horse's efficiency of learning, and I was just really intrigued because my background was in ethology, which doesn't really tell us much about learning. That's more in the realm of psychology. And so ethology from my first degree didn't really help me a lot, but it made me interested and intrigued about how I could do it better, and that led me to go down the track and then do my PhD. And then once I got involved, I became obsessed with how much more there is to learn. You know, once you start opening that door, you can't stop having a look around and exploring as much as you can. But also then in more recent times it's been the welfare aspects, because I think in recent years what is wrong has often been become normalised, you know, so the issues of hyperflexion and very tight nose bands, and even in racing, tongue ties, you know, where tongues are tied with straps, a lot of problems which are just accepted as normal to do, which we really shouldn't accept.
So I'm here with Orla Girthy, and you work at 2 different universities. What are the 2 universities that you're working at now?
Well, I've done my research through the University of Limerick. Both universities are in Ireland, and I teach in the veterinary faculty at University College Dublin.
Excellent. And I've heard you speak about the research that you've done on noseband tightness. Can you just tell us a little bit what you found with that?
Yes, so my background as a vet led me into looking at problem behaviours in horses, and I was very concerned that some of our competition horses display a lot of nose movements, mouth movements, head movements that I felt may be related to pain. And when we think about what we do in riding, we put a metal bit into the mouth and we close straps around it. So I was interested in measuring pressure levels of some of the equipment that we use on horses, and whether or not that could contribute to some of the head movements that we're seeing. So we ended up concentrating quite a lot on noseband pressures, how nosebands are being used by riders, and what the potential experience is for the horse. There are more unanswered questions. It has raised further questions, but we certainly found a worrying trend where riders feel the need to tighten nosebands to a very high degree of tightness. And as an animal who has pain sensation similar to ourselves, we can't avoid the possibility that those animals might be feeling quite a lot of pressure and pain as a result. Other studies have also shown restriction of normal behaviours such as swallowing, opening the mouth, chewing, yawning, etc. So we need to do more research, and we're currently doing that, as are other teams, but we need to try to err on the side of being fair to the horse until we have proof that it's not causing them a problem.
So for the horse owner at home, what is, in your opinion, a good gauge of how tight the noseband should be?
It has been so interesting. All of the old textbooks would suggest that we should be able to slide 2 fingers under the noseband on the frontal nasal plane, so right here. And our research is pointing more and more strongly to the fact that when we tighten it more than that, we're really causing fairly serious restrictions. So we hopefully will have more data to present publicly within the next year to really back that up. But I would recommend to all owners, certainly don't begin tightening up your noseband if your horse has previously not been ridden in that way. If you're already riding with a very tight noseband, you really should start to explore loosening out the noseband by degrees and looking at training methods that don't rely on sustained pressures, because there are better ways to do things now, as we know from the International Society for Equitation Science.
I'm here with Margaret, and you did some really interesting research observing horses and looking at chewing behavior. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
So what I looked at is the slow chewing behavior, so not the intense snapping or intense chewing, but the really slow and relaxed chewing behavior. And I first looked to see if it's submissive behavior, because it's often looked at as submissive. And from there I found that from the situations where one horse moved another horse, there was 8 times where the horse was moving another horse and then chewing, and then there was 7 times a horse was being moved and chewing. So also the horses moving others was chewing. And in the second part I looked to see what the behaviors was before and after, and I split the behaviors into groups, so tense behaviors and relaxed behaviors. And there was a really clear difference that they were doing more tense behaviors before chewing and more relaxed behaviors after chewing.
I think this is really important because so many people associate the licking and chewing response with being, like you just said, submissive behavior, and something that we have to get in training. So what kind of prompted you to focus on this for your research?
It was just that it's often looked as a submissive behavior, and also often as measurement. So you're thinking that it's very important that in your relationship with your horse you're the boss, and then you do different things to get the chewing behavior, so that you feel that you are deciding over the horse. But that can also prompt people to do not so nice things to their horses to get the chewing behavior.
I hope you've enjoyed these clips. It's really a pleasure to be able to bring some of what I experienced being here at the conference back to you. And I have even more that I'm going to be sharing, so just keep an eye out for more next week.